the boss. And looks like it's the perfect for Pino. Pino, 5 meters. Makes the boss in the temple. Stood still, head down, and takes the look at try time. Now he's the back line. Over the top. Superb strike, brilliantly down, the flags are raised, and it moves. And it is Ospreys that have the final say, but the important one is for the home team. Again, what you all.
Crispy Daddies, the dangerous woke agenda, and how I'll never look at the Travelocity gnome the same way. This episode of Gen V might have one of the biggest reveals ever, and we have lots to discuss from how Cypher's powers change everything, the mystery man in the hyperbaric chamber, is Annabeth actually Project Odessa, Andre's real killer, and how Ariana Grande's boyfriend fits into all this. But before we break it all down, make sure to like and subscribe, or my parents will make me go back to my job at Farms.
That's how God keeps Ariel pure and white.
Well, if it isn't Firecracker, America's most trusted name in news. She's here to crack down on the woke agenda and those godforsaken pronouns. It's kind of hard to believe this show was written months ago, yet predicted the nation's rising tensions surrounding things such as DEI and trans rights. Truth Bomb is a biting social commentary on networks like Fox News who use the same reactionary headlines to stir its political base. In this way, the media has become a weaponized tool used to push a specific political agenda, and God knows exactly how to use this to its advantage. It's time to get angry at Jordan Lee, Tolkien's recently ranked #1, for claiming that bot covered up Kate's attack, and that it was actually Jordan who did it. This would go against the bot narrative that Kate was attacked by an angry mob of Starlingers, and even opens Dognot up to scrutiny after he murdered an innocent man. Last episode, you might have noticed that Jordan turned from male to female before making her confession. A callback to season 1, when Marie told them to stop turning into a man whenever they're making a point. The Truth Bomb intro is an all-out attack on Jordan and transphobe, with the irony being that Jordan isn't even trans.
I'm not trans. I'm bigender.
And I'm, by golly, shocked.
Even so, Jordan's painted as a groomer, with Justine completely fabricating a story about how Jordan in male form exposed themselves to her in the women's bathroom. You better believe she's drumming this up for more views on the next episode of her podcast, Just Justine. Jordan is tired of everything being so fake. It was her time to finally tell the truth, even if that meant losing the thing she's wanted more than anything, to be #1. She realized that when she reached it, she didn't care anymore. The rankings, like everything at Godolphin, are fake. They are a subjective ranking system chosen by the board and simply another method of control. Jordan and Marie's discussion is interrupted by Kate and Cypher. If you listen closely, you can make out Cypher's last message to Kate, which is, know your place or you'll lose it. Kate's become Cypher's lapdog, and the recent loss of her power puts her in a precarious position. As Cypher outlined last episode,
your value in this world comes and goes with your powers, and without them, you are nothing.
This is also echoed by Emma.
Your powers don't work? Why the f*** are you here?
And check out this very interesting necklace. Kate's choker is a spiked sacred heart, love turned into a weapon. She needs touch to control you, so the jewelry literally warns, don't get close. The hollow heart mirrors the memory holes she leaves behind, and that chain screams she controls people even as Bond controls her. Now, Kate has lost her powers per se, they just don't work like they used to. For example, when she pushes the security guard, he puts a guard in. My guess is that it'll take some time, but we'll see Kate's powers return. As punishment for her little outburst, Jordan and Marie are forced to compete in a UFC-style battle broadcast around the globe on the Fox Sports Network. This isn't any big news. We'll see past battles have included Queen Maeve in the Deep in a battle of the sexes, and my personal favorite, Eagle the Archer in Blind Spot, Flightless versus Sightless. Both of these characters were seen in Season 2 of The Boys, with Homelander even rupturing Blind Spot's eardrum. What happens if... I don't know. It's also kind of funny that the official White House Twitter account posted this last week. You honestly can't make this shit up. Spearheading this marketing ploy is Seth Reed, who you might remember from The Boys. You last saw him pitching Ryan's branding makeover to Homelander in Season 4.
Wow. Oh, buddy, can you believe that?
This event will be hosted at the Vaughn International Hotel and Spa, a spoof on Trump's own international hotels and spas. Marie and Jordan do not want to do this. For a guy who seems pretty calm and collected, we're starting to see just how unhinged he can get. And he's right. If they don't fight, it's back to Elmira for a lot of them. But Marie has another concern. She's no match for Jordan. Cypher says she has to believe in herself, and perhaps with his training, she'll unlock the true extent of her power. Marie, Jordan, and Emma need to put a stop to this fight, hoping that by using Kate, they can get inside his head and find out what he wants. The only problem is, Kate's powers don't necessarily work, but there is another option. Kate remembers seeing that secret vault at Cypher's. Perhaps whatever's behind there might hold a clue to Cypher's past. And this is just a little thing I noticed, but it looks like Emma doesn't have a roommate. In Season 1, it was Marie, but Marie is back at Godolphin. Has she not moved in yet, or has she been crashing with Jordan? I gotta say, I'm loving this little trio of Emma, Harper, and Allie. Last episode, Emma suggested they up the resistance by engaging in some good old-fashioned sabotage. And what better thing to sabotage than a fight? We also learn a little bit more about Allie, perhaps a bit too much. She comes from a rich family that paid for the Godolphin Library. She has a brother, Greg, who Emma met in Modesty Monarch's class last episode. It definitely looks like they're setting him up as a love interest. As far as Allie's power goes, well, last episode I theorized it might have something to do with cats. We are Black Cat Eyeliner, cat plushies, and her name is Allie like an alley cat. I was close. It turns out her power has to do with a different kind of pussy. I do think it's interesting that Allie kind of glosses over her dad paying for the entire library. I wonder if her family is more important than she's making it seem. Both her and her brother's last names are mysteriously missing from the credits. Jordan watches Cypher leaves his house. Note the German-style World War II helmet. If Cypher is Thomas Godolphin's son, this helmet is just another piece of the puzzle. Boss was a known Nazi, and Thomas Godolphin was his right-hand man. So most likely Godolphin was a Nazi as well. There's even a giant filing cabinet titled Thomas Godolphin in a secret room filled with Nazi paraphernalia in the Godolphin wing of the archives. It's also great to have Kate and Jordan on this mission, considering the beef they've had the first few episodes. I got the feeling that these two genuinely want to repair their friendship, but don't know if it'll ever be possible.
I think I might be mad at you forever. Me too.
Using the security guard's access keys, they get to the vault. And if you ask me, having a little key open this giant vault, it just seems a bit too easy. Inside the vault, a record plays the song Cherish by the Association, a song that came out 1 year before the flashback we saw in episode 201, hitting it around the same time as the events of Project Odessa. There are two things I want you to notice in the room. First is this hyperbaric chamber and the body within it. This doesn't mean the body is trapped in this chamber. More than likely, it's undergoing treatment. If this is indeed Thomas Godolphin, we can assume he was severely burned in the Project Odessa accident we saw in 201. The second thing is the movable hospital gurney. Why have this here if the body isn't taken out of the chamber? Now, these chambers can be used to treat burn wounds, kill bacteria, and even clear carbon monoxide from hemoglobin. In fact, on this monitor here, we can see an indicator for SpO2, which is used to compare the amount of oxygen carrying hemoglobin versus not. A little concerning is the NIDP rating of 89/82, a blood pressure rating indicating a weak heart. But thank God the monitor shows what song is playing. In a lot of the research I did here, there was a lot of talk about blood, and I can't help but think this might be part of the reason that Cypher is so obsessed with Marie. What if Marie's powers could somehow help his father? The person inside here is clearly alive. The vitals indicate as such. You can hear faint whimpers from him and his eyes open. But is this really Thomas Godolphin? There are a few things that give me pause for concern. First, if you go to the end credits, you'll see someone credited as Grotesque Man. I don't think there's any other grotesque figure in this episode but him. However, he's not played by Ethan Slater, who played Thomas Godolphin in episode 201. Who knows, maybe they just got a stand-in to undergo what seems to be intense makeup. Then there's the age discrepancy. If we assume that Cypher is Godolphin's son, and that he was born in 1967, right before Godolphin was burned, he would be 58. However, the actor who plays Cypher is 49, 10 years younger. That's a pretty big gap. Furthermore, we have this photo of him taken the day Marie was born, and it hasn't aged much since then. So what does this tell us? Two things. One, either Cypher doesn't age, similar to suits like Stormfront, or two, he isn't Thomas Godolphin's son at all. I'll probably do a complete separate video on the following theory, but I think the man in the tank is Thomas Godolphin, using Cypher as a sort of conduit, living through him because his body is so damaged. In fact, it might even explain why Marie can't see any compound B in his blood. It's not Cypher using powers, rather Godolphin using his powers through him. Here's another wild theory. What if it was Cypher who killed Andre? In the first 3 episodes, we learned that Andre was killed when he overexerted himself trying to open a giant steel door. What if it was Cypher who was controlling him? If Polarity found that out, it would certainly give him motivation to kill him. Cypher's interest in Marie extends to their first one-on-one.
You know a lot about powers.
Yeah, I do.
That's an interesting thing to say, as we'll later find out Cypher has the ability to control other suits. If he can get Marie to unlock more of her powers, it would be to his benefit. If she really has the potential to be stronger than Homelander and he could control her, imagine how powerful that would make him. Cypher wants her to move these blood bags from one table to the other without them exploding, but it's what he says will happen if she accomplishes that piqued my interest.
Miracles. Miracles beyond your imagination.
Last episode, Aunt Pam referred to Marie's sister as a miracle, and there's a rising theory out there that Project Odessa isn't Marie, rather her sister, Annabeth. Annabeth's whereabouts have been highly secretive, and Pam won't let her see her or know her location. If Cypher delivered Marie, it's also likely he delivered Annabeth as well. Remember that every Odessa child died except for Marie, but if Annabeth came after her, it's likely she was a surviving participant of the Odessa Project too. I also have this insane theory that Thomas Godolphin would want to find a way to transfer himself into a new body. What better body than that of a child? Godolphin's own statue says, "The path shall begin here where mortals become gods." Project Odessa could be a project about immortality, finding a way to live forever. Meanwhile, Harper asks Emma how her power works. I think this is all leading towards Emma being able to control her powers without having to puke or feel like shit. I mean, if Harper could mimic Emma's ability and not have to do anything to get small, it hints that Emma could do the same. In exchange, Emma will teach Harper how to believe in herself, just like Andre taught Emma how to do the same. Now, the writers have gone full mask off and started naming characters after real-life figures. The goat that explodes is named after Elon Musk, and his handler is Vance, after Vice President J.D. Vance. Marie is shocked to find out that Cypher knows about her visit with Pam, her search into Project Odessa, and that she knows he was the one to deliver her. Later in the episode, Cypher will know about Kate's video camera and how she discovered his so-called father, something he says he knows because of his security cameras. Additionally, if we go back to episode 202, Cypher can even tell that Marie wants to leap across the table and rip his throat out. So are we to believe he has a vast network of security cameras and he's always watching them? Or is there a simpler explanation? To me, the most logical answer is that his knowledge is tied to his power. By controlling others, he may be able to access their minds, and by doing so, decipher what they have done or will do. It allows him to see into their past and what they might do in the future, making him an extremely powerful suit. I also had a hard time deciphering, pun intended, who actually made the goat explode here. It starts off with Marie focusing on it, but we'll later see her turn her attention to Cypher as the goat continues to levitate. She also seems genuinely shocked when it pops, so was it her who made it explode, or did Cypher somehow but every time I see the translucent statue, I chuckle. With Kate unable to push Cypher, the crew has come up with a different plan. It involves planting a hidden camera and getting Cypher to admit to what he's done. And luckily for them, Emma has a crew ready for some sabotage. Also, bonus points if you caught the Pop Claw seltzers. They take on White Claws based on Pop Claw, who was killed by A-Train in Season 1. The fight takes place at the Vaught Hotel, which is actually the Royal York in Toronto. Among the commentators is Vigor, who kicked the shit out of the kids in Hero Optimization class. Allie hands Emma the tiny camera and what has to be the cutest backpack ever, while Emma gives her the worst superhero name. Now I want to talk about Harper rushing in here, claiming she only has 10 seconds to warp into this wall. Remember that she can only mimic another's power for about 60 seconds. Did she get this power from Greg? I don't think so. He could have just done it himself. Plus we know that Greg's power is flight, but it's possible he has other powers as well. Greg also tells Emma to fuck shit up, which is a callback to what she said last episode. With access to the boiler room, Emma can now use the hotel's pipes to gain access to the VIP lounge and hand the camera off to Kate. Now you might ask yourself, how come Kate didn't just bring in the camera herself? Well, the show explains that Kate would be checked for cameras when she entered the building, but hey, what are you gonna do? In the locker room, Marie and Jordan have one last heart-to-heart before entering the ring. Jordan recounts a nightmare they had as a child in which a crowd of people pointed and screamed at them, something that will literally happen in a few minutes when they enter the arena. Marie reminds them of their own words, that the whole school is fake, but they are real, and that's the only thing that matters. And as if Emma's day couldn't get any shittier, pun intended, Emma narrowly dodges the dean's dookie and emerges from the toilet. Try saying that 5 times fast. She gives the camera to Kate, who attempts to expose Cypher as being human. His secret is safe with her, but she wants them to come to an understanding that starts with him putting a stop to the fight. Meanwhile, Jordan Marie piss off the crowd by kissing. I saw more kissing in Paul Tyson. Instead of shutting the fight down, Cypher reveals his power, being able to directly control Jordan. This is all in an effort to unleash Marie's power. As she is mercilessly beaten, Marie musters the strength to levitate Jordan, and you can see the smile on her face, or should I say Cypher's face, as she does this. This doesn't last for long, however, as Cypher quickly loses control. It makes me wonder if, like Harper, Cypher's power only lasts a certain amount of time. And speaking of Harper, imagine if she used her power on Cypher. She could then use his power to control someone else. It makes for some insane shenanigans going forward. As Jordan regains control of her body, you can see just how much pain she's in with the veins in her body about to pop. She'll survive this ordeal, but extremely weakened. And can we just acknowledge this super weird look Cypher gives Kate here? What's that all about? He's always alone with her, has his VIP suite, and it's just the two of them. He's pouring champagne, and now that we know he has the ability to control other soups, who knows if he's used Kate's powers to wipe her memory of things he's done to her. Going forward, I think it's safe to say that Marie will be crowned the new #1 ranked student, but things will totally change now that we know Cypher can control anyone. You better believe in the upcoming episodes I'll be keeping an eye on everyone, knowing Cypher could be secretly pulling the strings. But to really get a better idea of what's going to happen next, we venture into our trailer sleuthing section. Well, it looks like Marie and the gang are sent back to Elmira. We just don't know how or why. At first, I thought this would be a flashback, but considering we'll see Kate here, I don't think that's the case. We'll even see prisoners here injected with God knows what. Marie will be beaten and tased, and we'll even see this woman, who I believe to be her sister, Annabeth, behind her. She is not in prison garb, nor has an electric collar, suggesting she is either not a suit, or is or was on Cypher's side. We'll also see her in this abandoned children's facility with me, Jordan and Marie, fighting off Vigor and his hammer. Our prisoners look to be affected by the same type of high-pitched alarm used to immobilize suits, due to it being a frequency only suits can hear. There is some sort of escape attempt. We'll see Jordan use their powers against some guards, and an Elmira prisoner van burst through the gates. But their defining his power really isn't that effective against Cypher. Cypher puts the knife into his own hand unfazed. Is this too part of his power, feeling no pain, super healing, and or enhanced durability, or could he even absorb the powers of others? Cypher here with Sister Sage and what appears to be a surveillance ring in Elmira. What are they planning together? And does he have any plans to control the world's smartest person? Will the two be working together to take down Homeland? Remember experiencing the same type of aneurysm he did in season 1.
I've never grown up thinking or believing that the media reports are the truth.
Yeah.
So I view me leaving the ANC as the utmost betrayal. And so it's just a difficult thing to even think about. MKP is a little, maybe not ready because they're so new. They don't have the institutional makeup and grounding to be able to mount a good campaign.
Helen Zille possibly running for Joburg mayor. What do you make of that?
Ooh, I always have to mind my language, when I think about that.
Fam, I just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Pace Car Rental. Use promo code SMWX. Make sure you show Pace some love as they're showing this channel some love. Now, let's get into the episode. Today on SMWX, we sit down with Tutugile Zuma, political strategist, activist, and someone who bears an important political surname. She's been at the heart of South African politics, from Mutuli House to Johannesburg candidacy, and today we unpack her journey, her views on the current South African situation, and the future. Tutugile Zuma, thank you so much for joining us on SMWX.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's really great to have you. We were just saying before this, I was like, I thought I got judged for my surname, but we need to have like a long conversation.
100%. When I was driving here, I was like, oh, this is going to be quite refreshing because I'll be speaking to someone who is in many ways in the same boat when it comes to that. Yeah.
One thing you said in your recent Sunday World interview, which stood out to me, is that in a patriarchal society, even though you have two very famous political parents, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma on the one hand, President Jacob Zuma on the other, people look at you through the lens only of your father and not of your mother.
100%. As I said, it's just, for me, a manifestation of patriarchy. The fact that women are judged by the men in their lives is just society's way of continuing and perpetuating sexist, patriarchal tendencies. And unfortunately, even in the political space, where you expect the most progressive tendencies to reign supreme, patriarchy does also rear its ugly head. And I was making an example that, look, who am I? I'm going to definitely be judged by my father if my mom, a renowned, global figure, is judged by the men in her life as well. So it's just an unfortunate reality, but one that we have to continue to fight so that women who come after us don't have to suffer the same sort of consequence just for being women.
So true. I often say if you really want my political views, then yes, my parents, but actually my mom, not my father. But like you said, people's identities get shaped via the most powerful, well-known man in their lives.
100%. And I think it's quite unfortunate, because in the final analysis, I am a product of my upbringing, my parents, my family, my community, my political affiliations, and all of that. And I'm very proud to have the father I have. I love him dearly. But I'm my own person, there's no other Tutugile Zuma in the entire world. So, for me, my expectation and my plea always is judge me on me and my life journey and my political convictions and my actions and my views and my thoughts. And I think if you're fair and you want to have a fair engagement and analysis, you do that. But unfortunately, the world is not fair. That's why it's political activists check that.
Tell me about your early life, because that must have been such a fascinating upbringing, such a political upbringing. I think we were born in this time, 89. Are you also?
Yes.
Sadly, no longer youth league.
So sad.
Yeah, material. But I'm actually curious, like, if you have any memories that shaped your political trajectory from your family and how it influenced the way you were seeing things, and also what it was like growing up with the spotlight and the scrutiny so much on you via your two very prominent parents.
Yeah, look, I had a very good childhood, very privileged, loving family, school in the Boko. was there, because my parents were busy. Of course, I lived with my mom throughout, but she's quite busy, so Coco was the constant who was always there.
So is this your mom's?
My mom's mom, yes, who's now dead, and it was a very
Sorry to stop you. Can you tell us about her? Because I know about your mom, but
well, I recently got to know that my mom's dad was also quite politically active. The only story that my grand used to tell about him was that he loved hats but he never wore them because he refused to teach hat to white boys, which black men had to do in those days. But yeah, she had a very strong personality, my gran. Very strong willed. I remember she used to shout at my mom, always siding with us, and she used to shout at my mom and say, I'm going to Parliament. Meaning, like that. So, yeah, very loving, a matriarch of the entire family, really, not just her kids, but the extended family. She was quite the matriarch. Yeah.
that's so funny. So you just made me think of a memory I have where I was with my dad. We were going to the Eastern Cape to visit his mother who lived in Tanzania at the time. And I was very lucky that my parents never hit me. Like they were always, that was just something. But one day, like I irritated my dad and he gave me like a tap on the hand because I was playing soccer. Did his mother not like take him to task for the next hour after that? And I was there like crying, like hanging it on. And she was just like, "Don't how can you do this?" Blah blah blah. So it's always interesting to think of the parents of the people that we consider as like
100%, yeah.
wow.
Yeah, she was a great lady. She loved my dad to bits. Even after the divorce, like a very loving woman, a matriarch, and a strong personality as well. Yeah, so that's who we lived with when my parents came back to South Africa.
Yeah.
But she then moved in with us, and just to help be ever present to raise us as my parents were going about their very busy schedules. But to be honest, my first, I would say, political memories were actually quite, it was a lot of IFP ANC violence. So that's really what I remember quite a bit from an early young age. Phone calls when just home alone with my sisters, threats, when come call your parents, a lot of security, like everywhere we went, like police and security. Yeah, so just a lot of like turmoil, I would say, and that was really because of I think, the security situation in KZN at the time with the ANC and IFP violence. So that was actually really my first real exposure to politics. Of course, I knew there's the ANC, the ANC of Mandela China, and I knew all the songs because my parents would take us to rallies and to meetings. So I knew that there was this organization called the ANC that we belonged to and that was fighting for the people. But at the same time, there was also just a lot of violence and threat as well, which came as a result of some kind of tensions that were happening. So that was, I would say, my first true real memories of politics. A lot of going to rallies, a lot of going to meetings at comrades' houses, and my sisters and my dad would take us and go to one house and they'd feed us and eat. And then we go to the next house and we're like food again, and then we go to the next house. So he'd just take us from meeting to meetings, meeting comrades, going to hostels, going to rallies. Yeah, so it was growing up in KZN in a loving family home and environment, but very also highly political, and just a lot of security issues that I remember. And now, much older, understanding what that was and what was actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one thing people don't know about your mom?
What is one thing people don't know about her? I don't know if people know this or not, but she's extremely shy, like me. Yeah, I don't know if people
You're
know
shy?
that. Extremely. Yeah, when I was a child, it was like excruciating. I couldn't even talk.
Really?
Yeah, my cousins and sisters used to make fun of me. Yeah, I think she's very shy. I think it's difficult to notice because she's also at the same token quite assertive, but she's quite shy.
How did you overcome your shyness as a child?
I don't know. I think I just grew to sort of live with it, and over time, I just tried to overcome it slowly but surely. And um, I do that. Even now, I think sometimes if I'm in an environment where I'm not, you know, working or doing political work, some people might think I'm a bit offish or antisocial. It's actually because I'm quite shy, and I struggle to kind of socialize freely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What are your memories of like peak your parents being foreign minister or president and the difficulties of that and the joys maybe? Because wow, like there must have been a time, I don't know how everything came together at the same time, but your mom was globe trotting as foreign minister, then your father was probably same time deputy president or and then president. It must have been like a 10-15 year period where it was just like it's now normal that both my parents are like these extremely high level politicians.
I think it was always like that. Maybe they weren't extremely high level, but I think the level of busyness was always there, and that never really changed.
Are they like those busy?
Yeah.
Okay. Workaholics.
Yeah, when we were kids, mom was, they were always busy doing ANC work. Now in hindsight, I realized that, okay, so there was a lot of ANC IFP issues with elections and lead up, so they had quite important roles within the organizations, in their various um, roles that they were assigned, which may not at that time be, deputy president or minister, but it was very important work that kept them really traveling the length and breadth of the province in particular,
Yeah.
and kept them in many ways away from home quite a bit. So I think it's something I got used to from quite a young age. I don't actually remember a time where just Sunday and having Sunday lunch and no one's going anywhere. I don't have those sort of memories. So I think it was just what I've always known. So I don't know anything different. So by the time they were now, occupying senior positions in the state, I just think it was still the same in terms of time not spent at home. But it was interesting because you got to sort of track them through the media and through the work that they were doing, which wasn't the case, I suppose, when we were younger.
Did you ever have those moments where it's like you obviously know what is happening, and then the media reports something, it could be like a policy or something, and it's like completely different to what is actually happening? Because I got that a lot growing up. It's like I literally was there, or I saw this thing happen, and then the media reports it, and it's a totally different story.
Yeah, I think I've never grown up thinking or believing that the media reports are the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I've always known that there's the truth and then there's media reports. Sometimes they collide, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So I've always tried to ascertain the facts and what is happening through other means. And I think my parents have always done quite a good job of, when it's important things, taking us through so that we don't see things in the media and are confused. And I think my grand the same way. And I think for me, like what was really remarkable about my grand is the ability to just sort of not that it's not important the work that they do in the newspaper headlines, but just you're a child, you must go to school. There's me as your grandmother, there's your sisters, there's your mom, and and your dad. If you need them, but you're just a normal child, and providing that normal upbringing on holidays, going to our aunt's place, Kwamashu or Mlazi for the whole holiday with our cousins. So it was really quite a normal upbringing in an abnormal environment, if I can put it that way. And I think a large part of that is because of the family that we had.
And tell us about you and why you have gone the political route. It's must be a big choice actually, and I'm interested in how that choice came about.
So I would say it wasn't much of a choice, active choice, like I just sat one day and decided I'm going to go into politics.
Yeah.
That never really happened. I think it organically happened in the fact that, of course, I was from an ANC family.
Yeah.
Right? Broadly speaking, my parents, yes, but also, I mean, my aunt, my mom's sister right now is an MPL. She has been for some time.
Okay.
Her late brother was an MK soldier. Their uncles, Stephen Dlamini, Edmund Dlamini, like quite a political family.
Okay.
So that was kind of grew into that, and we knew that that's what it was. And then I think when I was growing up, in my adolescence, I did a lot of volunteer work. Just to, I suppose, keep busy on weekends. I did a lot of volunteer work, and so I did some work when we traveled quite a bit, traveled the country quite a bit, particularly in the Western Cape. When we were dealing with the children's rights, they were amending the children's bill, and they wanted kids to participate, to express themselves in terms of what they want. And so they needed sort of young facilitators who were able to speak to young people.
Yeah.
So I volunteered to do that, and that took me across the Western Cape in different communities, meeting different people from different walks of life. But I think most importantly, that really got me to understand from a very young age the sharp inequalities in our country and and how they are on racial lines, and made everything I knew make sense about our history and our oppression and where we are now and what still needs to be done to resolve that. And I think my activism in civil society from that young age is probably what got me to decide that I do need to play my part. I was fortunate enough to be able to be a beneficiary of freedom and all the opportunities that my parents could afford me, and it would be unjust if I didn't do my part to participate and make sure that I can leave a better South Africa than was left to me. So I think it was sort of a long time coming, and by the time I went to university, I decided to choose subjects that would enhance my understanding and analytical ability.
Right.
Yeah.
And was this at Wits?
Yes, I went to Wits University.
Okay. And what did you study? I know you studied anthropology.
Yes, I did anthropology. I've got an honours in anthropology, and for my bachelor's degree, I have a triple major, so I did anthropology, international relations, and sociology.
Awesome. Yeah. Interesting. And when did you officially join an ANC structure? Was it at Wits? Was it a little after that?
So when I was in high school,
Oh wow.
yeah, I tried to keep busy. I wasn't much of a social butterfly, so I tried to keep my weekends and stuff busy.
Yeah.
And I also, in hindsight, feel I didn't need an outlet for my political convictions. You know, maybe young and wet behind the ears, and maybe immature as they were. So I joined the ANC Youth League because I wanted to get involved in the campaign for the ANC during elections, and so I was pointed to a branch of the Youth League, which was in Rondebosch at the time. And so I joined that branch, Gavin Shapiro branch, and ended up being a BDC member in that branch. So that's the first time I joined the structures.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might be fascinated to hear this, but the only political party I've ever been a member of was the ANC. An ANC.
Brilliant.
There you go.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's really interesting. And then, I'm interested. Part of what we're trying to do on this podcast is present lots of different political perspectives and allow the viewers to make up their minds. Why the ANC?
I'm not hungry.
The party is
I'm not hungry.
a lot of pressure in terms of governance, in terms of the economy where it is, and people feeling as
I'm
if
popping chicken.
a lot of broken promises.
I'm popping chicken.
Even though
I'm
there's
popping chicken.
ANC families and went to ANC conferences when we were toddlers, we've had to come to that point where you just have to give up hope in the movement. Why do you still think that the ANC is worth investing your energy and talents and time?
I think it's just about the conceptualization of our struggle and what the ANC really is. And I think I've always prioritized that above everything else. The fact of a people that can organize themselves and say, as a people, let's come together, not fight in silos, can organize ourselves under this organization so that we can unite ourselves and identify a common cause and struggle and work collectively towards that common cause and struggle, which is the liberation of the African child.
Yeah.
For me, nothing has, and then of course conceptualizing that over time, with the National Democratic Society being the goal of our current struggle. Nothing nothing appeals to me. There's been nothing that has been offered that appeals to me more than this. And so, for me, regardless of the weaknesses, the people who come and go, and the challenges that the movement faces, it's so compelling that people united for me and to liberate me, and they continue to try to do that. That I don't have it in me to sell that out. And I'm not saying anybody else is selling out, don't read me incorrectly. I am saying for me as a person, I don't have the capacity to sell that out because I view me leaving the ANC as disappointing those that came before me and built it to be where it is. If I'm active in the ANC at this time with all these challenges that it faces and I abandon ship, it's almost like I'm spitting in the face of the people who came before me and the idea that an African child must be liberated, and that liberation comes through unity and collective action. Nothing in the political landscape of South Africa is more superior than that. And for that reason, I remain in the ANC. It's not to say that I'm, you know, unaware of challenges and weaknesses that the organization faces, but I feel I have a responsibility to assist to resolving those challenges and overcoming those challenges so that the historical mission can be achieved, because it hasn't been achieved. And for me, I long identified this vehicle, and for the longer, I mean, it was the only vehicle. It's the only organization that was formed really through the length and breadth of this country, Africans who united from all walks of life, who then decided, let's collectively liberate ourselves. So I view me leaving the ANC as the utmost betrayal. And so it's just a difficult thing to even think about leaving the movement. Yeah, and I think I owe it to myself, I owe it to my children, I owe it to those that came before me to give my all in resolving the challenges and making sure that the ANC can achieve its historical mission. And for as long as the African child remains landless, remains, impoverished, inequality that we see in our country and all of that, means that historical mission is not yet complete. Yes, we've made strides, but we're not there yet. And so for me, I'm more driven by that historical mission. And this is the vehicle that makes sense to me politically, theoretically, and otherwise.
When you were talking, I felt Sarafina playing, and I was like, maybe actually, because there is a thing that the ANC conjures in people, and that the ANC at its best, really, really did make important historic advances. And I feel like the default position for many people is the ANC. But then you have to decide, do you really believe that it can rebuild or do you not? Do you really think it's not like too broken to fix? Do you believe that there is a way to rebuild, and what do you see that way being? And I ask this mindful that I think many people felt that there was a big push towards renewing the ANC, as it were, after Ramaphosa's first term. And when I look back on the success of that in the ANC, I would say I'm not sure it's worked yet. If it were to work, wonderful, because that would solve a lot of people's problems. Like if the ANC could get its house in order, awesome, perfect. Is it really possible?
Look, I think I wouldn't still be a member if I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
But I think what people maybe misunderstand is they think it's going to be easy. They think a conference will resolve it. They think a person will resolve it.
Yeah.
And a conference or a person didn't create it. It was the contribution of really, really good freedom fighters over a long period of time that builds the ANC. And for me, my belief is that with the weaknesses and challenges the ANC is facing, it can only be the contribution of many progressive minds, young and old, who are committed to the cause that can rebuild it. And they can't do it overnight, because also it didn't get here overnight. It was I can't say it's a long time coming, but the challenges showed themselves and they were exacerbated over a period of time. And so I don't believe that there's a magical conference that's going to happen and a leader will be elected and all will be well. Of course, those are important aspects to think about and to get right so that we can self-correct and we can renew ourselves. But what it actually needs is what it had from the beginning and what it had through the course of our history, which is brilliant, progressive activists who love this country and who love our people and who want to liberate the African child and who want to create a South Africa that is truly free in all aspects. And that is what is important. And so for me, it's part of why I struggle to leave, because why would I leave? I'm that person. I feel I have a political conviction that says your life's work, you have to commit yourself to a contribution that can liberate the African child. So I can't leave politics and go and be a housewife or, work in, corporate. I don't have that option. My political convictions don't allow me to. And so for me to answer your question, yes, I definitely do think it's possible, but I think that it won't be easy and it's not going to be overnight, but it definitely will be in our lifetime. And with the concerted effort that I think we all need to put in it, it may be way shorter than in our lifetime. When I say in our lifetime, I'm being quite dramatic because I imagine I live quite long. But I do think the ANC does have what it takes to renew itself and to go back to really, really inspiring confidence to millions of South Africans and for millions of South Africans to realign themselves and really get the comfort that indeed this is still our liberation. They know it. They do. That's why they don't desert the ANC. They just don't vote for it. But they don't vote for the other parties either. So they're not deserting the ANC because inherently they know that that is the vehicle for their liberation. They just don't vote for us because they're unhappy at the many weaknesses and challenges that the ANC is presented with or that it's consumed with. And so we just need to get to a point where we can renew the ANC, we can rebuild our organization, we can strengthen our organization. And that takes a lot of work because the ANC is also not a small little, NPO in the corner somewhere. It is a huge animal. It is an organization that is found in every village, in every town, in every city, in this country. Every ward has a branch of the ANC. Every sub-regional zone, every region. So to address challenges in an organization that big is something that will not happen overnight. And for challenges to also entrench themselves and weaknesses to entrench themselves also can happen overnight. But there is no other alternative. If there's literally no other alternative, so you almost have no choice but to self-correct the ANC. Because that is, as you said, the default position. Because it's the liberation.
You spoke about every different ward and region, and the party is gearing up for its 2027 conference by electing leadership regionally, and that will flow provincially and then eventually nationally. And I believe the branches have spoken and said that you should consider. I think you're going to be vying for the deputy regional secretary. Is that in the Joburg?
Yes.
Talk us through before we come to that. Why these regional elections, I would say, are actually in some ways more important than the national election because they determine really the heart and soul of what will affect the provinces and then
Congress was that we need to go back to government. We need to play our part so that the lived experience of the Joburg can be improved. And we got that right. We're back in government. We're back in government 100%, but it's a coalition. And the challenges have deepened so much through this instability in the municipality, instability of political position in the municipality. And so that's the big ship that we are trying to turn around. Now, having said that, of course, we are now leading the GLU. It's not an old government. As I said, we were elected mere 3 years ago. We were in opposition benches, so it's been quite a short space of time. If you can think about it in relation to when Parkstow was last mayor, and so we're trying to turn the ship around, but it's difficult. And even as we make headway, and we are making headway, it's slow and it's difficult because it's in the context of a coalition government where you must lead with people who are not necessarily aligned to you ideologically in terms of what they feel should be happening in Joburg, in terms of your priority areas, and where you should spend money, so it just makes governing that much more difficult. But we are seeing improvements. It's not maybe as fast as people would like, but we are